Hi, my name is Nick Lakin and I am here with the Chair of FoodFutures North Lancashire, Jamie Murphy, and we're here today to talk about a new concept around food sustainability called food circles. Hi Jamie.
Hi Nick.
So, what is a food circle and where did the idea first come from?
Okay, so a food circle is a response to need, really. It's a way of describing a sustainable response to people who are in food poverty that moves away from a food bank model. And it builds on a concept from Megan Blake called a food ladder. And in a food ladder's response, we think about the bottom rung of that ladder as being an emergency response, so giving people food in an emergency through a food bank. The next rung is them taking some more responsibility, maybe by being part of a food club where they pay for some of that food. And the third rung is where they're actively involved in organising their own activities around that. And a food circle response enables people to move up that ladder to rung 3 and take more control. And it does that by adding to a food club a growing space and a community kitchen and a composting space. And at each level where we've added a new area, then there's training involved in that as well. So this enables people who haven't got access to organic, locally grown vegetables to grow those themselves. And it really depends on those growing spaces and kitchens to build people's skills up as well. And it's not a new concept. It's an old idea, really. It's really giving it a new name and trying to really kind of think about it in terms of community development to enable people to move up that food ladder.
Okay, so give me some examples of how and where this idea is already happening locally.
So locally in Lancaster, we've got a really active both sustainable food movement through Food Futures, but our Food Justice Partnership has a lot of food clubs that are really active, and some of those are moving towards a food circles approach organically. So Stanley's Community Centre in Morecambe has had a food club for a long time, and it's got a lot of members who come to their food club and buy food every week in a communal shopping kind of approach. And they also run, they have a really good kitchen, and they've been running community meals and cooking classes for a long time. And for quite a while, they've also had sort of small beds outside the centre that are offering fresh herbs. But more recently, they've got a whole allotment plot, and they're now looking to grow vegetables that will support more of the sustainable food that growth in their centre through their food club and their community meals. Okay. And a similar sort of thing is just started to happen on the Marsh community at the Marsh Community Centre as well. So again, they've got a really active food club, and they've run cooking classes from their really well stocked kitchen. They've had local small beds right next to the centre, but just this spring they were able to develop a community garden that the Lancaster City Council leased them a small plot of land, and through a charity called Volunteer It Yourself and some funding from the Walney Island Extension Fund, they've been able to develop that into a community garden. And if that goes well over the next year, I think the council have earmarked at least another 4 similar sized plots that will really ramp up the amount of vegetables that they can grow to support that food system.
Fantastic. Really interesting stuff. Is the potential for more areas of the district to set up their own food circles then, and how would they go about doing this?
Yeah, so Lancaster, I think, is really well connected. It's got a really well connected food justice system, and that's part of Food Futures. It's a working group of Food Futures, the Lancaster District Food Justice Partnership, and it's recently become a charity as well, and it consists of our food banks. So where we got emergency food on that rung 1, but it also has 12 connected food clubs that are across the district and cover kind of a lot of the district, as well as support services that go with this. So like Citizens Advice and Lancaster City Council as supporters of that as well. And because we've got that infrastructure already with things like Egg Cup that can do some distribution for us as well, and have got warehouse space, then that kind of means that infrastructure is already there. So it's about developing some of those things and getting people access to the bits of a food circle that they don't have. So that each of those food clubs would then need to access a growing space and a kitchen and a composting site. And they may have some of that organically, they may already be on a site where there's a kitchen. But if they aren't, then it's about trying to find how we can connect these things together. And one of the biggest problems is access to land for growing, because access to small amounts of land isn't going to make enough of a difference. So being able to access larger amounts of land is a significant game changer in this. And recently, Food Futures through Less has bought a summer house farm, and this can offer a land in itself for some of those food clubs, but potentially it can also offer lots of training and advice as well. And on top of that, we recently completed a allotment review around the whole of the district's allotments, and Lancaster City Council have been part of that as well, and that hopefully will help to develop and identify land. So by bringing these things together through community organising and that community development idea, then we should be able to increase those food circles to cover the whole of our district really, and hopefully roll that model out regionally and maybe even nationally.
Yeah, okay. So how does the wider Food Futures network fit into all of this then?
So like I said, the Food Justice Partnership is one of Food Futures working groups, and it's standalone on itself, but it's connected with these other groups as well. So Food Futures runs a skills working group, community skills working. It's got a working group on the environment, the comms working group to help get the message out to everybody. There's also the health and food group, and the economy and procurement group, and the heart group that helps develop all of these. And each of those plays a role in developing food circles and enabling people to access really sustainable food through growing. So it has an enormous amount of skills and knowledge that those people in the food justice system will need to access to be able to make this work. So there's a real role for each part of that of Food Futures in developing food circles across the district.
Okay. So at the start, you explained how food circles are the product of a need from a food justice point of view. But how does this involve the rest of the community in the Lancaster district? So
the basic point really, I suppose, is everybody needs food. It's such an essential part of living, isn't it? And I come at it from a community development point of view, and I firmly believe people need that connection, and we know that through COVID and the pandemic, that we saw that people lost that connection, and gaining it back was an essential part of their mental health, and getting out and about and meeting other people, being outdoors, growing food are all really positive things. And I would encourage anybody who wants to feel better to get involved with their community and to get involved with growing and eating. And through Food Futures, there's a myriad of ways you can get involved. And as I've pointed out in the last answer, each way you're getting involved will help develop food circles, because you're bringing skills and enthusiasm and connectivity to those food circles.
Okay. So how do people find out more about this? How do people get involved in food circles, Food Futures?
So the Food Futures website is a really good place to start. So you'll find there's a what's on guide on the Food Futures website. There's also kind of ways you can get involved in the working groups, and getting involved in any of the working groups will support the development of food circles. So check out the website, join the mailing list, check out there's lots of networks involved. Sorry, I probably should have mentioned this in the earlier answer, that the Chefs Network, the Food Champions Network, the Composting Network, all these networks will support food circles. So getting involved with those and getting behind our campaign to get a gold sustainable food place award would be really useful ways of getting involved.
Fantastic. Thank you, Jamie.
Cheers.